going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Again, a dual-com, myself, virtual footballer, in sort of a series, if you will, where we're going to go back and take a look at the promotional media that was provided for Madden 25 and compare it now, next gen, of course, to what we have in place with the game that we've all been able to experience for the past few months. Now, the first thing we want to talk about is an article here that depicts the player sense. And player sense was a big target this year in terms of marketing. And the most important line that you guys can look from this article in the beginning, I think, is that it starts off by saying it's going to unlock the human element in Madden 25.
Right. I mean, and that's the main thing that was shown and that was brought to us when the game was coming over to next gen. But as you can see, or if you have played the game, which most of us have in the football community, that the fact that they still like robotic sense. They're like bad AI movements. There's not a human element where you can say that, you know, mostly 8 to 9 times out of 10 that you can see the same things that you saw from the previous generation.
Right, and I mean, this was something that was supposed to increase the intelligence level on the field. Players were going to be able to anticipate situations, show instinct and awareness, and as it describes here, combine the physical aspect of NFL football with the mental game. And we heard some rhetoric about, 50 times the calculations these players could have to react to situations on the fly to make the game a lot more realistic.
Again, you said 50 times the calculations. And when we're talking about playing football on the field, we don't, like most people who've played football, no human can process that much information on the fly while they're playing. It's more basically instincts. I mean, you don't do that much thinking while you're playing. Yes, it's a thinking game, but it's more based on what you see prior to the play. There's no on the fly once the ball is snapped. So that alone, it still kind of gives you that the players have this superhuman element instead of this human element that's kind of, to me, it seems like it's contradicting itself.
I could agree with that. A lot of, playing is reading and reacting and anticipating, and we certainly don't see a lot of that in the game. One of the other things here that I think it's important we bring up is they use the quote, players are able to think for themselves and do smart things automatically. And like you had talked about, they say the players have the ability to check every frame to see if they're about to run into something, and that the players would be able to check their feet and their waists, see what's going on downfield to make these decisions. And, again, I've seen multiple situations, I know you have as well, where players don't make those checks, and they do run into things. But I have also, to give Madden a little bit of credit, I have seen situations where players automatically kind of straddle the sideline. But again, I don't think it's really giving the game-changing issues that we said, or at least that we read here, would be presented to us in this article.
Yeah, and then when you think about stuff like that, the tightrope in the sidelines per se, that's one thing that was, advertised if you've seen in some, like small parts of their trailers. And when you saw that, it was one thing that you haven't seen in Madden in years. So that right there alone jumps out at people, and that will make them think that, okay, player awareness, player avoidance is there. But when you start playing the game bare bones, you will see that most of that stuff that's on the field is the same. And they only, based on my experience, and I'm pretty sure with other experience that people have played it, have only saw these very small, minute things.
Right, and it's not obviously having that game-changing impact that you reading this article would believe you to think that it would have. One of the things, obviously, we've been talking about a lot of offensive-minded issues, but it did bring up the fact that there was going to be some contextual awareness to defensive players, that blitzing linebackers wouldn't be able to get caught up on their own linemen, that a safety would be able to come over and help a corner, and rather than the two collide into each other, they would maybe reach a hand out and try to create some space to make a play. And I mean, these aren't just things that we're fabricating. These are things and situations that are actually brought up in the article. And I mean, I can think more often than not, I have seen those situations where players are running into each other, or it's not concise with what it's talking about in terms of a safety making a play, but at least from a perspective where you've got a cornerback and a safety, let's say, going up to make an interception, I don't recall seeing anything so drastically different this year where I could go back and say, oh, okay, well, player sense, had those players interact differently because they knew each other were there than what we've seen out of prior iterations.
Well, I mean, exactly. I mean, one of the main things that should have been in the game a long time ago was the reach tackle, especially when you've seen guys who were engaged in blocks and you saw running backs or you saw a quarterback who's scrambling out of the pocket. You don't see that defensive lineman reach out for that player compared to something that we've seen in the previous games. And with player sense, you would think that's one of the main things that was one of the biggest things that were actually put in the game. Not only that, to the flip side of that, like we said, with the running backs running colliding into each other. In Madden 25 for the PS3, you've actually saw the running back, push off of their own linemen to get around that tackle or get around that guard. I've yet to see it in Madden 25 for the PS4 and Xbox One. So with all this promoting that they're doing, to a degree, they kind of step back to what their counterpart from the previous generation actually was.
Well, no, I mean, that's a great point. If we think about it the way it's presented here, in that first situation you brought up, if you've got a running back that's making these checks every second, and you've got a defensive tackle making these same checks, wouldn't they have the ability to see, I'm going to cross paths? So the running back would be able to maybe try to change what hand he's carrying the ball in, or maybe try to cover the ball up with both hands more realistically in anticipation of that defensive tackle rushing out. And wouldn't that defensive tackle also be able to say, okay, here comes this running back up my gap. I may still be in a blocking scenario with the lineman in front of me, but I'm going to reach my left arm out or I'm going to reach my right arm out because I'm sensing where that player is coming from so that I can impact the play and slow his progress. But again, I mean, that's not something that's in the game at all. But clearly we're being told, at least fundamentally, the players do have the ability to understand those situations. So how much more difficult would it be with the logistics of it and the mental aspect of it in the game to just have it physically represented with the animation of the player's arm?
I mean, not only that, and to Madden's credit, they do have the quote-unquote player sense to actually have the running back switch hands while running, where in the past you actually had to press a button to switch hands. They do that. But the main thing that you would like to see between the tackles is the running back to actually cover up the ball while you may have a lineman who's reaching out for him. I mean, that's fundamentals on both ends on offense and defense. You're taught, even if you're being blocked, to reach out to slow his progress, and at the same time, that running back must be aware to know that contact may be coming, so the best thing I can do is to, protect the football, which covering up the ball, I haven't seen it in Madden in a long time.
Right, and it used to be a user control thing where you could cover the ball up. And again, just to go back and give credit where it is due, we have seen situations where players do reach out and point, although sometimes maybe it's not as accurate as I would like, defenders out so that upfield players can get blocked. The last thing that's spoke about here is the rail track system technology, and a lot of the things that EA brings up, they generate out to us as technologies, but you never see them included in any other games. You don't see, in my opinion, you don't see FIFA or other EA products engineering systems or technologies that can be applied in Madden other than maybe just the Ignite engine itself. Where outside of Madden does this rail track system show up? If it's, such a great technology that's been created and such a major investment the company's put in. But essentially what this was supposed to do was allow players to break on the ball, have the ability to swerve instead of taking different angles and turns to get to the same point, which was going to allow a more granular prediction of how players could get to a ball and react to a play realistically. And I think we've all made videos. The most simple on this point would be pursuit angles of how, players don't often have that one cut or that one drive to get to the ball carrier or to get to the pursuit they need to or to get to the play. They always have those kind of jerky angles that are involved. And while I will say it has seemed to be cut down a little bit this year, it's still not on par with what we expect from a next